Today I'm making an easy shadow box card with Stamp Club I Love You Very Much. You need 2 pieces of alcohol friendly card, 6 1/4 inches by 5 1/2 inches. On the long side of the card you want to score 1/2 inch and then 1 inch, rotate 180 degrees and score 1/2 inch and 1 inch again. You'll do the exact same thing on your other piece of card. Now one thing I want to say is that I probably look a bit funny, or sometimes I look a bit weird crafting, and that's because I broke my arm. I had an accident and I broke my arm in 5 places, arm and elbow, and so my arm doesn't work very well, and I've had to compensate on the way that I craft. So if I'm doing something that looks a little bit weird, that's why. We're going to make a really super quick kind of a sky background. I'm using Moroccan Teal. It's a Nuvo hybrid ink. You can use any ink that you want. I'm not being very careful. I don't want a really smooth transition either because I want it to have the appearance of some clouds. So it literally only takes about 30 seconds. Because these shadow box cards have an aperture in them, I've decided to use this I Love You Very Much stamp and die set. This is a Stamp Club. So we're going to go ahead and do the score lines first. I always do my score lines even if I'm going to do any die cutting because I find that it's easier to refold them. You could use any shape to cut into the front panel of yours as long as it's smaller than A2. So rectangle, a small circle, or a square would be great, or an aperture like I'm using here. I'm going to die cut that straight into the panel, making sure that it's not touching either of the score lines, and that's going to create the aperture to the shadow box. Originally, I was just going to keep this front aperture panel white, but once I cut it out, I thought, you know what, I'm going to grab my alcohol markers and we're going to go ahead and color that in. I'm using Nuvo alcohol markers 410, 412, and 416, but you could literally use anything that you wanted. If you had markers, glitter markers, sprays, inks, watercolors, anything at all you could use. This is basic coloring with alcohol markers, which is why we're not focusing on it today. It's more about the shadow box itself. We're just using those 3 pens and going in and doing some shading and highlighting. We're now going to color in those little florals around that frame with 401, 403, and 405, and a deeper shading with the 404. There's also a little mushroom die cut on the right hand side, and we're going to use 472, 478, and 464 to color that in. We're just going to go back in and we're going to create a lot more depth in shadows and a few more highlights with those same colors, the 410, the 412, and the 416, those beautiful greens. It's time to assemble our card. So this is the fun bit. So I've cut out a load of things and colored them in. So we have a beautiful floral stamp and die set. We have some different types of foliage there and grass. We have 2 fairies and 2 mushrooms, one which I accidentally cut. It was stuck to another piece of paper and it went through my guillotine. So oops, but I decided that I was going to try and use it anyways. So those are the 2 fairies that I'm going to use. And I also used a sentiment here, happy birthday. I ended up changing the sentiment at the end because I wasn't particularly happy with the way that it looked on the card. I'm going to go ahead and start assembling my card now. Just one more thing to mention is that I only used 1mm foam pads on one of the fairies that sits on the mushroom, and also on the large, large floral die and stamp that I have. The rest of them, they just glued flat, and that's so this could still fold flat for posting. Now that we've done all of our inside bits, we're going to add double-sided tape plus wet adhesive to adhere both of those panels together to create the shadow box. The wonderful thing about this card is that it pops up and also folds flat. I don't know if you're like me, but I change my mind all the time. And this happy birthday sentiment changed to sending magic your way. I just felt that this was a little bit bulky and it didn't really fit with the card very well. So although I'm showing you the happy birthday off camera, I switched it after I finished filming. What I'm doing now is I'm just adding a little bit of glue to a couple of those flowers to attach the fairy very carefully, making sure that you don't stick her wing outside of the frame. You want it all inside so it still folds flat into that A2 envelope. And this is my finished shadow box. Isn't it pretty? I absolutely love this card. I think it's so fun. And those fairies are stunning, the flowers are beautiful, and I'm really glad that I took the time to color that outside aperture with those alcohol markers. I think it really makes the project pop. I also just wanted to show you that it does in fact fit into an envelope and fold flat. Thanks so much for joining me today. I had a great time making this shadow box card, and I'm sure that I'll be making it again. If you haven't already, please subscribe to my YouTube channel. I really appreciate it. I love receiving comments and connecting with crafters. I hope that everybody is safe and well. Have a great day, take care, and I'll see you soon. Happy crafting!